Hi guys, it's April and I have a review for you guys today. Just a while ago I was sent these PARKOO dual tip brush pens for review, and so now I have some thoughts that I would like to get to you guys because I've been using them for about the past 2 weeks or so, and I just wanted to let you guys know my experience with using these. Now this set of PARKOO brush pens comes in 60 different colors, and all of them have this beautiful brush tip on one end and then a fine liner on the other end, which I found very, very useful because sometimes getting into those really tight spots is hard. Now these pens were originally set up to be used for calligraphy, which unfortunately I am not the best at, but you can get a nice thin upstroke and a fat downstroke. So if you know what you're doing, you can get some really cool effects. Now these pens are also very, very, very juicy. I started using them in my coloring books, and right away you could tell that there was a lot of water in them. So these are a water-based marker pen, which means that they will bleed through if you are not careful with how much ink you are adding to a page. And like I said, you can get a nice line variant. The brush tip is actually very, very flexible, and I found that useful, but it also meant that because of how I color, I ended up damaging the tips really, really quickly. So here you can see that this has been chewed up like none other. So because of its flexible nature, you have to be very, very delicate with these markers if you want them to last for a long period of time. Now, a good thing about these pens is that they're extremely budget friendly. So I have a heavy hand, which means I pretty much destroyed this fine tip right here along with this brush tip, but it doesn't cost a lot to just go ahead and pick up another set when I need to, which is nice because yes. And as you can see, I have loved the heck out of this marker. You don't get that juicy look with this black anymore. So while these pens are really, really juicy to begin with, after you have used them for, I hate to say it, not a very long period of time, they start to run really dry. You can still get ink out of them, but they run a lot drier. As you can also tell, I have managed to rub off the print on the side of this pen just by using it. Now, I wouldn't say I have used this pen aggressively, but apparently I used it enough that it likes to rub off of the barrel. Another thing I want to mention, because of the fact that these are so budget friendly, sometimes there's a little bit of a quality control issue with these pens. I got this beautiful green color in the pack, and unfortunately, it didn't have any ink in it. Now, I've contacted PARKOO and I've let them know that this was a thing that happened and they're letting their quality control people know, but other than that, you might get duds in your pack as well. So be aware of that. And the last thing I want to mention before I show you some of the things I have done with these pens is the fact that there is no coloring system on these. Because they're more of the budget-friendly range, you get a large set of markers in color range, but you don't necessarily have a way to distinguish between the different markers besides the color of the cap. And sometimes the color of the cap doesn't necessarily tell you what is actually in the barrel of the marker. So here you have this bright neon pink cap, but when you actually lay it down, you get a nice pink, but it's not nearly as neon as that. It's more of a purpley pink. And because there are 60 different colors, you do start to get colors that look very similar. This is my very, very messy color chart that I did, because as you can tell, they laid down really, really wet, but then you start to get into some of them that look very similar in tone, which isn't bad because once one marker runs out, you have a backup just in case. But that is something to note, that while it says there's 60 different colors, sometimes the difference between those colors isn't a lot. That isn't to say that you can't do some very fun things with these pens. Now, the first thing I want to show you is a picture that I did in Animal Mosaic by Sun Life Drawing. This is a color by number sheet, and I did this page right here. As you can see, right here is where things went a little bit wonky. I ate the paper with this pen. So these are a pen that you just want to do one layer over at the very beginning because they're so juicy that they will warp the paper. They will go through. See, this is a black background, but you can still kind of see where that marker is going through because it is so juicy. But like I said, once you color something like this, I found that the pens started to feel really, really dry. So when I started doing this second page, the experience was a little bit different. And this is when I started noticing the pens coming off on the paper drier and that my nibs were starting to fray. On this black one, I just did the edging of these blacks. That's literally all I colored, and a few squares on this page, and yet it was still starting to run dry. I don't feel like I colored a lot with it. I also started eating that nib, and I ended up having to take scissors to it so I could try and get that point back. It didn't really succeed, but I needed it fine enough that I could get this like fine detail. I did try to use this nib right here first, but I ended up just mushing that nib into that barrel, unfortunately. So that was my experience trying to get that black down. But with the range of colors I had, I was able to complete this picture to this level that I really, really like. I was able to blend 3 different colors together fairly well. I love how this ended up turning out. I loved the experience of the pens when they were first brand new and they were juicy and they just came together really, really well. And because there's such a large range of colors, I was able to do this effect right here. So there's a trade-off with these pens. You get a lot for very little, but the quality of them isn't something that will last. So if you like to do recreational coloring or you're just starting to learn how to do calligraphy, I say go for these pens. They're not bad by any means, but they aren't something that will last you a long period of times. They're a beginner pen. They're something that you use when you're just beginning to dive into this world, and they're a pen that will give you a lot of versatile colors if you are interested in just playing around with colors and learning the feel of a brush tip. So if that is where you are at in your coloring or calligraphy life, I highly recommend these pens. But if you want something that will travel with you for a long period of time that you can reliably rely upon, maybe skip over these ones for now. So that is my review of these dual tip brush pens. Tell me down below if you have tried these pens out before, if you're thinking about getting these ones, or how you imagine yourself using these pens. I will leave a link down below in the description if you are interested in looking at these at all. But other than that, I am going to get back to coloring, and I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.